They all laughed at me, the whole team, gathered around the coffee machine, shaking their heads with smirks and playful jabs. "Jessica, why waste your evenings on that AI course? You'll never need that stuff in real life," they said. Honestly, I wasn't surprised. After all, I was the one who'd chosen to stay late after work, poring over textbooks and online lectures while they were out having fun. But I had a feeling, call it intuition or stubbornness, that this wasn't just some passing fad. 2 years later, the company was a very different place. The same voices that mocked me were packing up their desks. Automation was cutting through the team like a wildfire. And me, I was signing the papers for a promotion because I'd built the very system that saved us all. Before we start, type 1 if you've ever dreamed of getting revenge but never got the chance. No judgment here, and hit that subscribe button. We don't let betrayal slide around here, not even from people who don't subscribe. Let's continue. Let me introduce myself. I'm Jessica Harper, 36 years old, and I work as a project manager at Bright Tech Solutions, a mid-sized software company right here in Austin, Texas. I've never been the type to just punch the clock and coast through the day. I like to stay sharp, always thinking a few steps ahead, quietly earning respect by getting things done rather than making noise. Outside of work, I'm a single mom to an energetic 8-year-old named Emma, which means my evenings are usually packed with bedtime stories, homework, and a million little things. So when Bright Tech announced an evening AI course, I wasn't sure how I'd fit it all in, but something about it just clicked for me. I didn't want to just hold on to my job. I wanted to grow, to thrive in a future I knew was coming fast. Little did I realize how much that choice would change everything, not just for me, but for everyone around me. It all started when Bright Tech announced a new evening course on artificial intelligence and machine learning at the local community college. A 12-week program designed for working professionals like me. When I signed up, the reaction at the office was immediate and honestly a little brutal. "Jessica, why waste your time on that stuff? AI's just a buzzword," my teammate Mark scoffed one afternoon by the water cooler. Even my closest friends at work joked that I'd end up buried under textbooks while they enjoyed their evenings. But I was determined. Between juggling Emma's bedtime and late-night study sessions, I dove headfirst into the course, learning about neural networks, data algorithms, and automation tools that sounded like science fiction to most people around me. It wasn't easy balancing everything, but something told me this wasn't just a hobby, it was a lifeline to the future I wanted to build. About halfway through the course, things at work started to feel different. One afternoon, I was in the break room when Monica, our team lead, sharp as ever but stuck in her old-school ways, walked in with a stack of papers and a furrowed brow. "Jessica," she said, "have you heard about the new automation software the company's been testing? HR just sent out a memo about streamlining operations." Sounds fancy, right? I nodded, trying to keep my face neutral. "Yeah, I read something about it in one of my classes. AI and automation can handle a lot of repetitive tasks, help with data analysis. It's a big shift." Mark, ever the skeptic, chimed in, "Oh, come on. You really think some robot's gonna replace us? We've been doing this for years. No way that thing can match human judgment." Monica laughed, but there was an edge to it, like she was trying to convince herself as much as us. "Well, I'll believe it when I see it." But I'd started noticing subtle changes, software quietly rolling out in different departments, some processes suddenly faster, others disappearing altogether. The company wasn't just dipping its toes in, it was diving headfirst into automation. One day, I stayed late to finish a project report and saw a group of execs huddled around a screen, watching real-time data from the automation system. I caught a glimpse of the dashboard. It was clear they were planning a major shift. Later, I mentioned it to Monica. "You know, if we learn how to work with these tools instead of against them, we could actually shape what the future looks like." She gave me a skeptical look. "Jessica, you've been drinking too much of that AI Kool-Aid." That phrase stuck with me, AI Kool-Aid. It was the perfect little jab, half teasing, half warning, but I wasn't drinking Kool-Aid. I was preparing for a storm most of them didn't see coming. And in the quiet of those late nights, while my teammates joked and rolled their eyes at my geeky obsession, I was piecing together a plan, one that would soon change everything. After that first hint of change, things at Bright Tech didn't just shift, they tilted, wobbled, and eventually started to tumble. The automation system rolled out quietly at first, like a low hum in the background. But pretty soon, it became impossible to ignore. I remember walking into the office one Monday morning and feeling an odd tension hanging in the air, almost like we were all waiting for a thunderstorm that hadn't quite arrived yet. My teammate Lisa, who worked in customer support, was the first to voice what everyone was thinking. "Jessica," she whispered, sliding her coffee cup toward me, "have you seen the new software they're making us use? It's like a robot's reading our emails and deciding who gets help first." I nodded. "Yeah, the AI's been designed to prioritize tickets based on urgency. It's supposed to speed up responses and cut down workload." Lisa sighed, her smile forced. "Cut down workload or cut down us? I swear I've heard HR mumbling about right-sizing the team." Across the room, Mark was louder than usual, pacing with his signature scowl. "This is ridiculous. We're not some replaceable parts on an assembly line." I tried to keep my tone calm when I approached him. "Mark, this is how the industry's moving. The question is whether we want to be part of the change or get left behind." He snorted. "Part of the change? Jessica, I've been here 10 years. I'm not just going to let a machine take my job. That's what it feels like, you and your fancy AI classes, trying to cozy up to a future that doesn't care about us." His words stung because honestly he wasn't wrong. The fear was palpable. People clung to their routines, their roles, the very things automation threatened to erase. I felt it too, but I'd made a choice to understand the future rather than fear it. Meanwhile, Monica, our team lead, was visibly wrestling with her own doubts. At a team meeting, she half-joked, "Jessica, you and your AI Kool-Aid have probably been having secret meetings with the bots." The room chuckled, but Monica's eyes weren't laughing. "I'm serious, this tech stuff moves fast. One day we're all friends, the next, who knows?" That same week, a major project landed on our desks. A pilot program to integrate AI-driven workflow tools across the entire customer service department. And guess who they asked to lead it? Yep, me. I wanted to celebrate, but instead I felt the weight of 1,000 skeptical eyes. The team grumbled openly during meetings. Lisa confided, "Feels like you're the company's pet project, Jess. Like we're all just pawns." I understood, change is scary, especially when it threatens what you've built your life around. The first weeks of the pilot were a nightmare. Resistance wasn't just passive, it was active. People missed deadlines out of frustration, meetings erupted into arguments about how machines don't understand people, and whispers of Jessica's turning into a corporate sellout floated around the break room. At one point, I found Mark quietly uninstalling part of the new software on his workstation. I caught him red-handed. "Mark, what are you doing?" He shrugged, eyes darting nervously. "Just making sure it doesn't screw us over." I took a deep breath. If you're trying to sabotage the system, you're not just hurting the company, you're risking your own job. He glared. Maybe it's about time I did. That night I stayed late, combing through data, tweaking algorithms, trying to prove that the system could work with us, not against us. Every small victory felt like a battle won, but the war was far from over. The office politics kicked in hard. Rumors spread that I was getting special treatment, that management was cozying up to me because I was the AI girl. I even caught Monica in a rare moment confiding to a colleague, "I like Jessica, but sometimes I wonder if she's lost sight of what really matters, the people." I couldn't blame her. Leadership was a tightrope walk, balancing the need to innovate with the human cost. I spent hours talking with colleagues, listening to fears, trying to reassure them that I wasn't the enemy. One afternoon, I sat down with Lisa over lunch. "Lisa, I know this feels like a threat, but I promise you this is about working smarter, not replacing smarter." She looked skeptical but nodded slowly. "It's hard not to feel disposable." "I get that. But what if we could be the ones leading the change, building the tools that help us, not hurt us?" That conversation was a turning point. Slowly, I started recruiting allies, not just through data and presentations, but through empathy and trust. Still, the obstacles kept coming. At a board meeting, one executive grilled me. "Jessica, how can we be sure this automation won't alienate our staff? We risk losing the human touch that makes us competitive." I leaned in steady. "Because we're not replacing people. We're empowering them to focus on what machines can't do: creativity, problem-solving, connection." It wasn't an easy sell, but piece by piece the tide started to turn. Behind the scenes, my nights grew longer, filled with code, strategy, and a growing determination. Balancing motherhood, work, and this fight was exhausting, but necessary. I'd chosen this path when everyone else laughed. Now those laughs were fading, replaced by uncertainty and, for some, fear. But I knew the future wasn't waiting. And neither was I. Around the halfway mark of the pilot project, things reached a turning point that none of us saw coming. The automation tools we'd been cautiously implementing suddenly went from an experiment to a full-scale operation. And with that shift, the mood in the office shifted, too, from skepticism to a palpable undercurrent of fear. It started with the company's announcement, a restructuring plan carefully worded but clear in its intent. To remain competitive in an evolving market, the memo read, Bright Tech will be implementing AI-driven automation solutions to streamline operations, which may impact current staffing. The euphemisms didn't mask the hard truth. Some of us would lose our jobs. I remember reading that memo in the dim glow of my laptop late one night. My heart sank, but somewhere beneath the anxiety, a spark of resolve ignited. This wasn't the end, it was a reckoning. The future I'd prepared for was here. The question was, could I help shape it, or would I be swept aside? The next morning, the atmosphere was thick with unease. Colleagues whispered behind closed doors. The cafeteria buzzed with rumors and nervous speculation. Lisa, always one to keep a brave face, pulled me aside. Jessica, are you really ready for this? I mean, if they're cutting jobs, who's safe? Does your AI magic save you, or do you get caught in the crossfire like the rest of us? I looked at her and felt the weight of that question, not just for me but for everyone. I don't have all the answers, Lisa. But I believe if we embrace these tools and learn to work with them, there's a place for us. It won't be the same, but it can be better. Mark, overhearing us, scoffed loudly from across the room. Better. That's corporate speak for get ready to be replaced. You and your AI dreams are living in a fantasy. I didn't respond. His cynicism was a shield, but I could see it cracked underneath. The company began its painful process, layoffs. I watched, heart heavy, as familiar faces packed up their desks, some stunned, others resigned. People who'd been part of the team for years, even decades. Their anger and fear were palpable, and I felt torn. On one hand, I was relieved my knowledge gave me some protection. On the other, I mourned the loss of my colleagues and the camaraderie we'd built. Amidst this turmoil, my role became even more critical. Management looked to me not just to run the pilot, but to prove the automation system's value, to demonstrate that the technology could enhance productivity without destroying the company culture. But that was easier said than done. At a meeting with the executive team, I presented early results: faster ticket resolutions, more efficient workflow, and measurable cost savings. There were nods and murmurs of approval, but also tough questions. Jessica, said Paul, the CFO, leaning forward, these numbers look promising. But what about morale? We've heard grumblings that employees feel replaced, undervalued. How do you address that? I took a breath. Paul, automation isn't about replacement, it's about augmentation. The goal is to free our people from repetitive tasks so they can focus on higher-level work, creative problem-solving, customer relationships, strategic thinking. But that transition requires transparency and support. We need to invest in retraining and open communication. Monica added, but what if people resist? Fear isn't easy to overcome. I know, I said honestly. That's why we need to lead with empathy, listen to concerns, and build trust. The technology alone won't fix this, people will. Back at the office, those words felt like a fragile lifeline. The resistance was real. Some days I'd walk past Mark's desk and see the scowl deepen, the whispers grow louder. Lisa confided her doubts in private. Jess, I want to believe you, I really do, but watching friends get let go. It's hard not to feel like the future you're building is built on our losses. I understood her pain, I felt it too. The very system I was championing was a double-edged sword, but then came a breakthrough. One afternoon, the AI-driven system flagged a complex customer issue, something that would have taken hours to untangle manually. Instead of routing it straight through the automated process, the system alerted a team member for a human touch. That's where Lisa stepped in. She applied her experience, empathy, and quick thinking to resolve the problem perfectly. The customer was thrilled, and the team celebrated the moment as proof that human judgment still mattered. I gathered the team and shared this story, hoping to rekindle their faith. Look, I said, AI isn't here to take our jobs, it's here to help us do them better. We just have to learn to work together. Slowly, some of the resistance softened. People began attending the training sessions I organized, curious and cautious. I held one-on-one conversations, listening more than talking, acknowledging fears and uncertainties. At times, it felt like trying to build a bridge while everyone was busy pulling it down. But progress, even if small, was progress. Meanwhile, the layoffs continued, a constant reminder that the stakes were real. The office wasn't the same anymore. Yet, in this upheaval, I found my purpose sharpening. I wasn't just a manager or a student of AI, I was a guide helping others navigate the unknown. One evening, as I was wrapping up my studies after putting Emma to bed, Monica messaged me. "Jessica, I want to say something. I've been skeptical, even critical, but you've shown real leadership through all this. Keep pushing." Her words meant more than she probably realized. They reminded me that change isn't just about technology, it's about people, about trust, about courage. I realized this was going to be a marathon, not a sprint. And the finish line wasn't just my success, but the success of everyone willing to adapt and grow. So I kept going, code by code, conversation by conversation, hoping to turn fear into opportunity, one step at a time. As we moved deeper into the rollout of the automation system, the obstacles piled up faster than I ever imagined. The pilot project wasn't just a technical challenge, it was a human one, tangled up with emotions, fears, and a resistance that often felt personal. One of the biggest hurdles was winning over the team. Lisa, who had once been cautiously optimistic, now avoided eye contact in meetings. She pulled me aside one afternoon, voice low and shaky. "Jessica, I don't know how much more of this I can take. People are scared. Some of my friends already got the pink slip. How do I tell them to trust the system that took their jobs?" I wanted to offer reassurance, but honestly the fear was real. I'd been living in the future, trying to build a bridge for everyone else, but the gap was wider than I thought. Mark, who had been my fiercest critic, became almost openly hostile. One morning, as I tried to explain a new AI feature that would help reduce their workload, he snapped. "You're selling us out, Jessica. All this talk about working smarter is just corporate doublespeak to justify cutting corners and people. I don't know how you sleep at night." The room fell silent. I could feel the weight of dozens of pairs of eyes, some filled with anger, others with confusion. I took a deep breath. "Mark, I'm not here to replace anyone. I'm here to help us adapt. I know it's hard to see that now, but I promise you my goal is to protect our team's future." He scoffed, shaking his head. "Save your promises for someone who believes them." The tension wasn't just with the team. Monica, who had once been my reluctant supporter, started distancing herself. Rumors spread that she was frustrated with the upheaval and worried about her own standing with upper management. At one point, I overheard her telling a colleague, "I admire Jessica's drive, but sometimes I wonder if she's underestimated how much people hate change." She was right. Change was painful, and many weren't just afraid, they were angry. Meanwhile, the technical challenges of integrating AI into our workflows were no joke. The algorithms didn't always get it right. Sometimes, the system misclassified customer requests, sending urgent issues to the back burner and flooding team members with low-priority tickets. Frustrations mounted as productivity dipped instead of improved. During one heated meeting, Paul, the CFO, slammed his hand on the table. "Jessica, this system was supposed to save us money and time. Instead, it's causing chaos. If this keeps up, the board's going to pull the plug." I felt the pressure crushing down. "Paul, we're still in the early stages. We're learning, adapting. The AI needs continuous tuning, it's not perfect." He gave me a skeptical look. "How long do we have?" That question haunted me late into the night. To make matters worse, the HR department began sending out more layoff notices. Morale hit rock bottom. People whispered that the automation was just a convenient excuse to slash budgets. Team members stopped collaborating, hoarding information like it was currency. Meetings became battlegrounds instead of brainstorming sessions. One afternoon, I caught Lisa crying quietly in the break room. She looked up, eyes red. "Jessica, I don't know who I am in this new world. I'm scared I'm next." I sat down beside her, heart aching. "Lisa, you're more valuable than ever. Your experience, your empathy, these are things no machine can replace. I'm fighting to make sure the technology works for us, not against us." She managed a weak smile. "I want to believe you." I knew it wasn't enough. The company's leadership started to lose patience, demanding quick wins. I was pulled into back-to-back meetings, expected to deliver results while managing the fallout. The pressure to perform was relentless. One particularly brutal day, after a project glitch caused a major customer complaint, I was called into Monica's office. Her tone was clipped. "Jessica, this is the third issue this month. The board is questioning the whole automation strategy. If you can't turn this around, you'll have to answer to them." I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. "I understand. I'm on it." After that meeting, I stayed late, poring over data and reworking the system's parameters. I ran simulations, reached out to AI experts, and coordinated extra training sessions for the team. I felt like I was juggling flaming torches while walking a tightrope over a pit. But what kept me going was the conviction that this struggle wasn't just for me. It was for everyone trying to stay relevant in a world that was moving faster than we'd expected. One evening, as I left the office, my phone buzzed with a message from Monica. "Hang in there. Change is hard, but you're making progress." It was the first genuine sign of support I'd seen in weeks. Just when I thought I'd reached the peak of challenges, life threw me a curveball that no amount of preparation could have predicted. It came in the form of a sudden, company-wide announcement. Bright Tech was accelerating its automation efforts and planning a second wave of layoffs. The news hit like a thunderclap. Even those who had cautiously adapted now looked over their shoulders, unsure if they'd be next. The day after the announcement, the office was eerily quiet. People moved like shadows, conversations hushed and clipped. Mark, who had been one of my harshest critics, sat across from me during lunch, a strange look in his eyes. "You know," he started, poking at his salad, "I never thought I'd say this, but maybe you were right. This AI stuff, it's not going away. Hell, it's probably smarter than half of us." There was no bitterness in his voice, just a reluctant acceptance. But beneath the surface, tension simmered. Rumors spread that some executives doubted the AI pilot program's success, blaming it for the unrest and dips in productivity. I found myself summoned to a high-stakes meeting with the board, faces cold, eyes sharp. Paul, the CFO, wasted no time. "Jessica, despite the improvements, there are concerns that automation is destabilizing our workforce. Some board members question whether this approach is sustainable." He paused, then added, "You've done well, but now you need to prove that your system can deliver not just efficiency, but stability." I took a deep breath and presented the latest data: improved ticket resolution times, cost savings, and early signs of increased employee engagement through retraining initiatives. I emphasized that transformation was never linear and that setbacks were expected on the path to progress. As I wrapped up, Monica spoke up unexpectedly. "I've seen Jessica work tirelessly to bridge the gap between technology and our people. It's not just about automation, it's about culture, trust, and leadership." Her words shifted the room's energy. The board's skepticism softened, replaced by cautious curiosity. But the real plot twist came a few weeks later, almost out of nowhere. One morning, I got an urgent call from HR. "Jessica, we need you in the conference room ASAP." When I arrived, I found the CEO waiting, flanked by several senior executives. He looked serious, but there was a flicker of something else, admiration maybe. "Jessica," he began, "we've reviewed your pilot program and the data. Your approach has not only improved efficiency but has shown promise in maintaining team morale during this transition. We want you to lead the company-wide rollout of the automation system." I blinked, disbelief washing over me. This was the promotion I'd dreamed about during those long nights of study, the sleepless hours balancing work, motherhood, and endless coding. But it wasn't just a promotion, it was a signal that my vision had been validated. Still, I wasn't naive. This meant more responsibility, more scrutiny, and the daunting task of convincing an entire company to embrace a future that scared many. That afternoon, as I walked back to my desk, Monica caught up with me. "You know, Jessica, for all the late-night lectures, endless data, and pilot meetings, you've done something bigger, built a bridge. The question now is, can you get everyone to cross it?" I smiled, feeling a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. That's the plan. In the weeks that followed, the company-wide rollout began. I worked closely with department heads, HR, and trainers, developing programs to reskill employees and ease the transition. We held open forums to address fears, gathered feedback to improve the system, and celebrated small wins to build momentum. Mark, who once dismissed me as the AI fanatic, now approached me with a new perspective. "Jessica, I still don't understand all this tech, but I have to admit, I'm glad you took that course. You saw what was coming before the rest of us." Lisa became one of the program's biggest advocates, leading training sessions and mentoring colleagues nervous about change. Watching them grow alongside the technology was one of the most rewarding parts of this journey. Of course, not everything was smooth. We faced setbacks, technical glitches, resistance pockets, and the constant challenge of balancing automation with the human touch. But the company was stronger for it. Looking back, the laughter from 2 years ago, the jokes about the AI course and my weird obsession, feels like a distant echo sometimes. The biggest plot twists come disguised as challenges. And if you're willing to face them head-on, they might just become your greatest victories. Just when I thought the hardest part was behind me, the real crisis hit. Leading the company-wide rollout of the automation system was one thing, managing the fallout was another entirely. Despite the promising results and the support from upper management, resistance within the ranks didn't just vanish overnight. If anything, it intensified. I found myself walking a tightrope every day, balancing the demands of the executives who wanted swift results with the very real fears of employees who felt displaced and uncertain about their futures. The whispers of discontent grew louder, sometimes spilling into open confrontations. One afternoon, Lisa came to me, eyes heavy with exhaustion. "Jessica, people are starting to avoid me. Some say I'm a sellout because I'm helping with this automation stuff. I don't know how to keep everyone on board." Her words hit me hard. This wasn't just about technology, it was about trust, loyalty, and the fragile bonds we'd built over years. Even Mark, who had softened toward the idea, pulled me aside one evening. "I get why you're pushing this, Jess, but there's a line between progress and pain. People are hurting, and they need more than algorithms and training sessions. They need to feel seen." I nodded, knowing he was right. Behind every data point was a person, someone who worried about rent, family, and their place in a changing world. Then came the toughest moment. A viral internal email from a group of employees anonymously criticizing the automation rollout, calling it a corporate takeover disguised as innovation. The message spread like wildfire, shaking confidence and forcing management to address the growing unrest publicly. I was called into an emergency meeting. The CEO looked at me gravely. "Jessica, this backlash threatens everything we've worked for. How do we turn this around?" I took a deep breath. We start by listening, really listening. We bring the people into the conversation, acknowledge their fears honestly, and make the transition as human as possible. Technology alone won't fix this. People will. That crisis was a wake-up call, a reminder that no matter how sophisticated the system, success hinged on empathy and communication. It pushed me to double down on transparency, open forums, and personalized support. It was exhausting, humbling work, but also deeply necessary. Because in the end, no machine can replace the power of human connection, and that's what would carry us through. After facing that storm of doubt and frustration, things slowly began to shift. We launched open forums where employees could voice their concerns without judgment. Training programs became more than just technical lessons. They were conversations about adapting, growing, and finding new purpose. Lisa and Mark stepped up as champions, helping their peers navigate the change. Bit by bit, trust rebuilt itself. The automation system evolved not as a cold replacement, but as a tool that empowered people to focus on what machines couldn't do: creativity, empathy, and complex problem-solving. I realized that leading this transformation wasn't about technology alone. It was about people, resilience, and hope. And as I watched my colleagues find their footing in this new world, I knew the toughest part was over, and a new chapter had begun. Looking back, it's almost surreal how much has changed since those early days when everyone laughed at me for taking that AI course. The journey was anything but easy, filled with doubt, resistance, and moments I questioned myself. But in the end, it wasn't just about mastering technology. It was about perseverance, empathy, and believing in a future others were too afraid to face. Today, I'm proud not just of the promotion or the system we built, but of the team we've become, stronger, smarter, and ready to face whatever comes next. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Sometimes, the best way to protect your future is to create it yourself, even if it means standing alone at first.